is my BenofKent kit that arrived in the, I wouldn't say the post, arrived in a delivery today. This kit is just the proton pack itself. There's no neutrino wand, as I've got the Spengler, which I've modded to actually put in there. So we're going to have a quick look on what's in the box. I've just grabbed a few things. So envelope has got the stickers for the various different things. I'm just going to put things at the side here. See, check if there's anything else in the bottom, but there's the motherboard, all nicely undercoated, really nice. So rotate it a bit. We've got all the rivets, it's all mounted, and on the side we've got various screws that keep it all together. This is going to be a fun project. Hello everybody, yeah, welcome to day 2 of the Proton Pack build. Everything was unpacked. I haven't cleaned all the pieces yet because I want to make sure they actually fit. There's no point in cleaning it up yet. So I have got all the various different parts, components attached to the main pack. I'm starting to learn the different component names now, so which is good, but I'm not going to embarrass myself immediately. So the bumper, I do have the bumper fully fitted. I've taken it off because it was quite difficult to get the side injectors, not the tubey things, side injectors fitted. These ones are also fit. I haven't screwed them totally home yet, but they're all in place, all the holes drilled. That does rotate. I've got the end one. These are all, I mean, the aluminium bits. I like this one protruding a bit. I know some kits put them flush, but this one I've put it slightly protruding so you can see it a bit higher. This is actually just loose on the top at the moment. I have screwed it in once, but I don't want to have to keep screwing it in and unscrewing it. Miracle of miracles with a BenofKent kit, that's a mouthful. Discovered some of the pieces. I wasn't too sure what the pieces were, but yes, we actually get lenses for the lights around there and the blue lens there, which I didn't realise, which is great, absolutely brilliant. Some of the stuff here have the CLIPPARDs just temporarily attached there. I've got another one of those handy dandy like double-ended screws that basically screws into the bottom, then screws into the top. Have to use pliers and things. It took me a while to get this in there. For some reason this one didn't quite want to fit in the hole there in this case, so I've had to sand a lot of that area out, you might see there, to actually get that to fit in. Haven't measured up the hoses and all the cables yet, but I just wanted to get all the solid pieces in. I've still obviously got more holes to drill, which is going to be for the cables going through. Some of this still needs to be attached down properly, but I've made enough of the holes to kind of sort out. I've drilled a hole into the end there, so that's going to be super glued. The cable's going to be super glued. That goes somewhere into here. There's a few bits and pieces. So really the next stage for this is to undercoat everything. If you've got one of the bot kits, you get lots of screws and nuts and things like that. I'm not brilliant at putting them into, so I'm going to have to put lots of nuts on the back sides of a lot of these things just to keep them secure. But yeah, I do have lots of screws and nuts and things that are left over that you do actually get with the kit. But as I say, yeah, I'm happy with it so far, and I'm ready to give everything a wash and then prime it. I'll see you in a couple of days. Have fun. Bye bye. So, part way through the build, I thought I'd show you the inside of how I've connected things together. It's not totally together yet, but most of the bits are in the right kind of place. So this is just part the way through. So I've got some of the injector tubes are on the other side, are connected with these handy bolts here. At the moment the side injector tubes are just connected with one bolt. I need to put a second bolt in there, and at the moment what I'm doing is I am trying to line up this the metal tube with the back. Now what I did, just to guide it, because I've been having trouble to see both sides at the same time, so I put it into drill a pilot hole into about there, and then also put a hole about the right kind of place on the other side of that, just to kind of help me line it up first. So now what I can do is I can maybe put a couple of holes in here with a few screws that'll screw, or bolts that'll screw straight through there and keep this all supported. I haven't put the end in yet, and this screw is going to, or another screw somewhere in that area, once I've got this actually straight and make sure it's not going to move around. I'm going to use that to make sure that this end cap here will actually stick out from the top in here. It's not going to stick out that far, but that screw is just stopping it from going any further down. There's the hole for the tubing to go through. There's nothing else really to see yet. The CLIPPARD holes on the inside there. I'm just going to put some, the bolts are going to go through here, and I'm just going to screw them at this side. Put some nuts on this end. One of the slightly annoying things, the only way I could manage to get it straight in there was actually screw it straight in to the actual outside. If you just bear with me, I'll turn it around and you'll see what's on the other side of this. So yeah, that was a so-and-so to actually put in. So I ended up making a couple of pilot holes and putting a couple of screws in, because I could not see both sides. Some pilot holes have been pre-drilled just to make sure that I'm going to be centered on these. Yeah, the paintwork, I did a mix of satin. Some of the parts are satin, so I actually left some of the parts satin, like this tube here, and the injectors. I think the injectors. No, it's actually painted the injectors with the truck bed. And the truck bed, you can see the texture on the truck bed compared to the masked off areas there. I quite like the difference between those two. The pipe that runs between this metal nozzle thing at the top there and through into the hole that needs to be drilled in there, I did note that because of the construction of the pack, there's a bit of a lip, so you can't actually put like one of those ends straight into there, because it will only be shallow. So if you notice. So what I did was I cut a section of pipe off there so it would actually go underneath. I didn't want to kind of, oops, ignore me for the piping in there. Stick that in there. So it goes underneath that little lip. The other end goes into there. So, and I'm just pushing that. Now at the moment I'm just leaving that as push fit, because I'm still fitting up the other bits and pieces. for these metal bits, I thought, well, add some natural wear to it, so eventually it will, you know, it will kind of scratch up. I've tucked the ribbon underneath, actually into the bottom of the pipe. I didn't want to cut any ribbon off. The ribbon I got from Bock. I just left the full length of ribbon just in case. Maybe the end fell off or something like that. It would mean I wouldn't need to replace the whole ribbon if I've got at least an extra length just in there. And as you can see up the top here, there's the other end of the pipe that's coming through. I might just hot glue that. Also of note as well, because I struggled to get the various different things, this is actually hot glued in there with a lot of hot glue from the bottom end. This bolt here isn't really screwed into anything. Lots of dust everywhere. Isn't really screwed into anything. It's actually just hot glue on the other side. Keeps it in place. But this one has a bolt on the other side, so it actually keeps this pretty steady. So because of the length of the tube, I've struggled to get various different bolts in. I would love to get bolts in that end, and there are probably better methods to do it, but yeah. So there was a bolt. There was going to be a bolt behind that, didn't manage to get it, but there is a bolt behind this one. Looking at that, I do have the arm here. You see again, to detail the top, I didn't bother to undercoat it. I just added some black paint, and then I sprayed it and then scratched it off. Hot glue the tubing, the thin tubing, which is this stuff, which covers up the ends. Just fits over the end like that. In fact, if I can find it, yeah, I've already done some. So that's super glued onto there, and just very similar to this one. This is actually prepped for something else. They'll just fit into there. Because of the thickness on the wall here, I did struggle to get the holes drilled for the end piece down here. So I made a couple of holes. I have figured it that the tops of the bolts do actually cover my mistakes, and that little let's say weld that has been knocked off will be hidden at the back. It'll be tucked in that corner there, so you shouldn't actually see it. So yeah, we all kind of make mistakes and things, but yeah, when you're drilling those holes, just be aware of the thickness of the wall, because when you do, you might not be able to get the bolts in. This is just a little side note about the CLIPPARD. If you get the polyurethane CLIPPARD valve, it actually comes in two parts, the top and the bottom. Now, I found a handy dandy way of securing the top and the bottom. I don't really want to use super glue on places, because super glue can dry up and break off, and then I'd end up losing the top of it. So what I've used is one of these to connect the top and the bottom. So this is screwed into the top and then screwed into the bottom, and if you twist it using some pliers in the middle, you can just about see that. It'll connect the top and the bottom. Few updates since the last video. I'll go through piece by piece, and that's been fixed. I got some kind of car trim tape. Bumper thing on the end is now on there. The CLIPPARD is now connected with the cables. Again, I'm half thinking maybe I'll leave those as they are, but I might, when I'm finishing off the internals, I might just hot glue the ends of these in. I also put the offset connectors here. Ion arm, yes, with all the various different bits of tubing. It all came with the kit. That's all super glued in there. Nicely done. There's a few things. These were drilled and just screwed in. Super glued, drilled, screwed in. They work quite well on there. There's also the one at the top here. It connects. I'm going to see if I can try and get rid of that kink. I might take these off and put something inside it. A little bit of a kink on the cable there, because the CLIPPARD is just screwed in with the 2 clamps, but just to back up so it doesn't accidentally get knocked off, I put an extra screw with a washer that goes straight through into there. As I said before, I've kept most of the cabling, that's all there. Further down, say we've got the hot glue there just to keep the end of that tube in, so it's all bolted and screwed in from the inside. Say this top half at the moment is getting really heavy. To the Alice pack, which I managed to put together. I did find when I first got this it needed a bit of tweaking. I have noticed on the Spengler pack on the back there is a strip of foam down the middle. I can imagine why. When I tried this on, it was so uncomfortable. It's crazy uncomfortable. The reason was that the Alice frame I got, this bar across here was curved in like that. Instead of being flat across, it was curved in. So I ended up with this bar and all of this sticking in me back, and it's really uncomfortable. So what I did was I just simply stood on it and pushed it out so the curve is more out that way. All the bolts are in. Check GB fans for the positioning of the holes. This is a LC2 pack, so it's slightly different. I think it's probably to do with the curve at the top here. I think possibly my top screw is probably slightly higher than a lot. It works fine. I'm quite happy with it. If you want to know how to do the straps, there's plenty of videos on YouTube on how to put the straps on. All you need to do is remember when you're actually putting the straps on, there is a left and a right. If you look at the ends of each of the shoulder straps, it goes straight down and then it curves out. So make sure when you're putting the straps on, left and right, that this strap, so each of the straps actually curve towards the outside. Because the handle of the Spengler wand has some green tape on it, I figured I'd followed it through into the actually back of the pack itself. Now, Ghostbusters 1, the insulation kind of tubing thing was actually white and sprayed black. You could tell by the inside of the actual tubing itself it's white. So I'm actually getting some white stuff, the same as this stuff, and painted the ends black a bit so they look a bit roughed up. And then covered the rest with strips of tape across, and then just connecting it up by connecting a few bits of tape across the back to kind of keep it on the bar. So I thought I'd give you a little update on some of the modifications I've done to this. I'm not going to go into the greater detail by actually taking this apart. There are plenty of other YouTube videos which you'll see online about taking the Spengler wand apart and actually doing the audio mod. So I'll just, if you haven't done this before, I'll just explain what it is without taking the whole thing apart. So if on the bottom, once you've taken off all the basic screws, you have to pull all these lugs out. These are all empty spaces now. If you've got a Spengler wand, you'll see there's plastic kind of grommets in those places. You've got to pull them out. Recommend maybe using a little hook or a screw just to screw it into there and then pop them out. You've got 4 on there, and there's a couple underneath this plate. This is the BenofKent connector to get onto the pack. So once you've taken those off, you'll get into the internals and you'll see in there. Now this is the position where the speaker is on the Spengler. You might just about make out the speaker grill inside there. So the sound comes out of here. So what you basically have to do is run a cable connecting 2 parts of the 2 speaker outputs, cable into there and run it out through there. Now I've done a similar kind of modification that some have done, because it is quite difficult to run. If you don't want to take the whole thing apart, the way I've done it is just run a little drill through from the main unit here into the battery compartment, so it runs in there. It's hard to see if you were just carrying it around, but I'll probably end up just finishing off that with some black paint just to let it blend in. But you can see the cable in there. So run it through the end there. You'll see here I have replaced the end kind of handle at this end, because if you get the Spengler wand, it does have a green rubber thing. If you take the green rubber off, it's basically a big chunk taken out of the handle. So I replaced this with a 3D print that I obtained. Actually, Elliot had some spares, so I got one of those, but it's a 3D printed handle. I've also sprayed it with the truck bed liner that I've used on the pack, just to give it a bit of, like, you know, if it was made from the same place, you know, you might be using some of the same kind of spray paint. Also off Amazon, got some of this green tape. It is quite, you get it in rolls like this, so it's a roll of green tape. It's hard to see in there, but you can see the green tape there. So I wrapped that around once I've got the 3D printed, so you don't want screws just taking up the void inside here. So wrapped up, 3D print, wrapped up with tape, just to bring it that way. Now at the end here is the void where you've got the batteries that actually go into it. Now you notice at the end here, if anyone plays a guitar or has an amplifier, this is the end of a microphone and amplifier cable. So I took the fairly decent cables from a microphone cable, took that and connected the two ends into the speaker at that end. I then, at the moment this is super glued in. I'm going to add some hot glue around the space around the outside just to keep it in, because if it's going to be in and out a lot, I don't want the super glue to just come loose or break off. So this is separate. I did also take a lot of the excess around the end of the Spengler wand off. So I've reduced it down to just this little screw in bit, and you'll notice it's quite easy. If you just reduce it down to that, you've just got these two sides. So I think there's a screw in the middle you can take out, and I have used the not the blank plate, the one that you get with a Spengler that has basically got the rubber hose connector on it. So I've attached that. So the XLR, this is an XLR connector, so cable's gone in there, a bit of hot glue just to support it. You can just screw that home. There we go. So you end up with quite a nice connector on the end here. It does have the clip, so it actually clicks in. So if you run the cable, you've got the male at this end, you've got the female at the other end, and you just click them home, and this little connector there actually clicks in. So the only way you've got to do it is make sure it's secured at the speaker end, secured inside the back of the pack, however you've connected it into your amplifier, and I just find that's handy. There we go. So here we are at this end. The pack is actually powered up at the moment and the amplifier's on. So I'm going to show you there. We've got the connectors there. Put that in. Click it home. There we go. So you'll see that's the connector there. The audio's connected. So all I need to do now is power up the Spengler. And hopefully you can hear the noise of the pack in the background. Everything's there. Just to show you the pack attached, so we've got it up there, and that's the connection there. So it looks not too bad. The microphone cable or the amplifier cable, depending on what you use, mine's come in through here. It's actually super glued to this, well, not super glued, it's hot glued to the side of one of the speakers. There are two speakers in here, and it goes to the board that came in the soundbar. Now the soundbar itself You can't just, if you've got a soundbar, you can't just take the little speakers out and expect them to be a bit booming. So as I discovered when I was actually putting this together, these are two of the speaker cases from the soundbar. The soundbar actually split into two, hacksawed into two, so the two speakers were separated. I took out the little amplifier board, which basically you get the USB in. You'll also see the battery pack for the rechargeable in there. So this is all powered and charged via a USB. And that USB cable goes into the split weave and then comes out the other side. I've also got some, and these are for out and about, just some £1.50 from, I think it was Home Bargains in the UK. I've had the lights running off one of these for at least a day, so these things would run the lights quite easy. Now, I'll explain later why I've got the two. You'll notice two USBs here. One, as I say, this is charging at the moment. I've got this one connected, it's charging. Connect the second USB up. I've now got the lights working, which you can see here. Now, the lights themselves, they've just got a simple LED. Now, the way I got the diffuser, this is you'll see here, it looks actually better on the camera than it does in real life. But there's kind of two diffusers here. So on the actual pack itself is a little, believe it or not, it's a pudding container. Cut it down to probably a fingernail's height from the top of the pudding container and hot glued it into place. The LED, as you can see, I've got a flat LED mounted just on the back of a piece of foam, and you can see instead of being a sharp light, you've got kind of very diffused kind of lighting, which is great. So combination of a diffuser on there, the lack of opacity on there, how it's not as very transparent. Mounted that onto that, a bit of hot glue and a bit of tape to back it up. You can kind of see it doesn't have a really direct spot. It's very soft. I like the very soft nature of that. You've got cable ties all the way around, so all the lights are now fitted. So all the four, I've fitted the fourth light on now. The cables are all running to the various different bits, and then we will talk about, or Tim will talk about the whole process.
Hello, thank you for inviting me today. This is exciting.
Isn't it exciting? Yeah.
Basically, I was asked to have a look at trying to produce both the lighting effect here for the power meter and also cyclotron. I'm not a Ghostbusters fan as such. I'm good. I like.
You can't say you're not. You can't say you're not a Ghostbusters fan. You have.
Well, I've sort of got into it now, obviously.
Okay. Yeah.
But so this was a bit of a learning experience. I had a look around to see what was around on the market for doing the effects, and decided that I would tackle it myself because one or two reasons: the price and the effects were preset in some cases, so you couldn't actually do your own interpretation of what they should be. So to do that, I've been looking at the new. Look here behind this panel is the Raspberry Pi Pico, which is a new product from Raspberry Pi. That is a little microprocessor which is a bit like an Arduino, but it's made by Raspberry Pi obviously, and is designed to be used for these sort of projects where you've got low power consumption, battery powered projects, and it's the brains of the system, and it's running MicroPython on there, which is a programming language which is really simple to get to learn and really accessible for people. There's lots of examples on the internet, hence why I ended up using it. And that is driving via all this wiring looms, and we've got down here a device called a 16-bit port expander, I/O port expander. It sounds very complicated, but all it's doing is, we see, if you go back up to the the Raspberry Pi, we've only got a few wires coming out of that, but yet it's driving all these LEDs down here. So what this device does, the Raspberry Pi can tell it which one of these pins to switch on and off, and it expands just 1 or 2 wires into a big array of wires, and actually 16 wires in this case, and that's enough to drive all these LEDs that we've got to drive. There's one other advantage to this, is in that the Raspberry Pi, like many other modern microprocessors, uses 3.3 volts rather than 5 volts, and the pins on it aren't 5 volt tolerant, so you can't just drive an LED like these LEDs here without using something in between, and conveniently the port expander can take 5 volts, so it does 2 jobs really.
So yeah, this is all being run by with the lights all going at the moment, this is all being run by a single 5 volt USB power pack. So,
exactly, and if the Raspberry Pi has a little converter inside of it which converts the 5 volts down to 3.3, which it needs to run, but it also provides a 5 volt feed which then is used to drive these high intensity LEDs. The LEDs were fun. The 5mm LEDs, the high intensity ones, get the brightness we need to get through the perspex on the front of the pack, and actually the LEDs I used were clear LEDs, but they weren't diffused LEDs, and which I found to be a mistake because it gave too much of a pinpoint of light on the other side of the pack when you're looking at it. So what I did was I sanded the front of the LEDs down to make them diffused, and that gives a much better effect. It gives a much more fuzzy effect to the lighting. I also designed and printed on 3D printer a special holder for those LEDs, which allows you to get like a segmented effect. It's like a bar graph as those LEDs go up.
So link in the description below, as you say.
The link will be in the description.
Yeah, from Thingiverse. So yeah.
Also, I also designed this, and on Thingiverse is this little holder for the port expander, which allows you to easily slot it in and out for maintenance purposes or any wiring that you need to do. And we also have on Thingiverse, if we go back up to the Pi, the little holder for the Raspberry Pi as well, which allows to be kept in place. So if we move on, following this wiring loom through the pack, we probably end up going all the way down here up to the cyclotron lights. They again, we need using the same LEDs to create the light source, but we I think Keith, you can.
Yeah, I've already covered that.
Already.
Yes, how the lights it's diffused using a
different technique for
polystyrene
diffusing.
sheet that I got the idea from a greetings card. So yes.
Yeah,
so,
and again, those have been driven via that port expander we were talking about before, and the sequence is all programmed in the Python script, and that script will automatically run on startup, i.e. when you put the power into the Raspberry Pi Pico. And if we go trace the wires back again, and we've got this curiosity here, which may be a bit of a puzzle for some people. This one is a microphone. And why do we need a microphone in here?
Why is it next to a speaker, Tim?
Exactly. Good question. Well, I was asked if it could somehow we could get the pack to change the lighting sequence when the noise of the one being activated occurred. And the obvious way to do that is to put a microphone in without having to interface the two devices and get into complexities of that and possibly damaging one or the other, or all the difficulties in interfacing devices. The very simple way of approach that I took to that was to use one of these microphones. This microphone that's embedded in here, again, the link will be in
the description below.
Yeah,
yep,
as usual. This microphone is a threshold microphone. There's a little grub screw here which you can just about see, and that is used to adjust its sensitivity. The microphone will act like a switch, and once the noise going into the microphone reaches a certain level, it will activate the switch, and that switch is again detected all the way back by the Raspberry Pi over there to change the lighting sequence and make it a different speed in this case, or do whatever else you want to do. And that was just a really neat way that we found to get that sort of coupling between the effects without really having to deeply interface them. I was quite chuffed with that idea.
Because I would say it's my fault because of the Spengler wand. With it being the Spengler wand and the audio is being created by the Spengler wand out into the sound bar, which is now being cannibalized and taken apart. I didn't want to kind of ruin either the possibility of breaking the Spengler wand or the amplifier or any other kind of system. So the thoughts were, if we could create something that would detect the sound, if the sound was loud within the pack at a certain level, it would trigger faster lights. So yeah.
So yeah, I think that covers the basic principles of what's going on. Again, the on Thingiverse, we've got a link to the housing for this microphone in case anybody wants to use that.
So Tim, could you just demonstrate the thing by shouting into the microphone, and we should hopefully see the sorry, okay, I'll shout into the microphone if you want. You hold right. Let's
Okay,
switch around. I'll go and.
I'm amateur cameraman.
Yes, as long as you can. You don't just see my head, but yes. So we've got the lights there. So if I shout into the microphone, it should make sure that the lights start speeding up. There we go.
Can definitely see that. So they sped up, and as soon as it stops again.
And then we shout again, and it starts speeding up. So this should be the sound of the Spengler inside the case. Yes, there we go.
And that works rather well.
Yeah.
And I'll hand the control of the camera back.
Okay, so I think that just about sorts the sound and the lighting out.
I think we were also talking about trying to get a circuit diagram for this as well. So
yes, so there will be a circuit diagram. I will add it to the description below and a link somewhere. So you'll have all the links in the description below, as everybody says. And we'll make it freely available. So anyone on the BenofKent forum on Facebook, I will also put the links within the post, and the Proton Pack builders, I will also put it in there. So thanks to Tim.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, one last thing. Part of the reason for the Raspberry Pi choice was it's a really low cost device. It's only a few quid.
Give us some prices, Tim.
I wouldn't know what it is today, but I know the postage was more than the actual Raspberry Pi.
Right.
It's that sort of level. It's only a few quid.
So 3D printing costs, and so 2 boards.
So we've got I mean it's a few quid for each of these components. It's probably well under £15 in total with all the heat shrink and everything there, which keeps the cost a lot less than some of the other options that I saw out there.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Tim. So from the program in the Pi, turn it on. And then it runs a standard sequence. Because it's programmable, I can actually change the different startups. First to pop it now. I can actually don't reach it. So slow sequence there without the sound. So turn it on. Make sure we're in. You see the lights on the back. They're moving faster because of the sound. Turn off. Turn off. And that's it. I've always been a big Star Wars fan and very much into the used universe ethic, where if something's being used over and over again, it's going to get bashed, it's going to get scratched. So I'm just going to show you around my pack and show you what I actually used. So just starting from the top, you'll notice a few little dings and scratches. Some of these because, like the with the BenofKent kit, this tube is actually, I think it's aluminium. I could be wrong, but I think that's aluminium. And in this case, because it's not the motherboard on the back, I just sprayed it with some satin spray, and just let, you know, the dings and scratches. See, look, I can do it now. See, I'm going to add another bit of scratch to it. So I'm just thinking over time that we could just it'll get scratched. I like the scratches. I did actually add a bit of like weathering over the top, and the weathering I actually used is some, I think you pronounce it Vallejo. I could be wrong. Any of your model makers out there, I used some Vallejo engine oil, acrylic paint. This is like engine oil, and I think there was some rust as well, if I remember rightly. Is that the rust? I think that's the rust. Yes, that's the rust. So a bit of rust, weathering effects to the actual paint job. I know a lot of people have used things like Fuller's Earth. I'm very much into using, and a lot of my other builds, the acrylics, the brown acrylics. In the UK you get a lot of cheap packs from B&M and Home Bargains, some tubes. When I mix black and certain colours of brown to kind of make it look dirty. But there's a few things on here. So some of the dirt, some of the brown stuff, this is all the kind of the engine oil and the mud and the rust from here. So the resistors on here, did just a touch on there. Still haven't got this kink out of there, but never mind. Same with this iron arm. I just painted this satin, then just went over it and scraped it with a few bits and pieces from my fingernail down to some sandpaper. Because the undercoat, I mean, there's one good thing, because the undercoat for the BenofKent was actually a grey. Even if you sprayed it over the top and you scuffed it off a bit, you'll get the grey undercoat, which looks, you know, fairly close to the silver. I did actually go over it with a silver permanent marker as well, just to touch up some of the areas. There is some distressing at the back there, and some of this kind of flecking across where the truck bed liner is. Because the truck bed liner has a bit of texture to it, I just scarily went over it with some sandpaper, and the sandpaper just takes that edge off it, and just gives it a bit of texture. Even though you could quite easily leave the labels looking pristine. These are the BenofKent labels I got with the kit. I went over them with a bit of the engine oil, scuffed them up a little, even if they're, you know, hanging off, which is kind of authentic. I know some of you out there have got the aluminium ones, which I'm sure you could add some dirt and scuff and detail to that, but I quite like the peeling off. I did find when I got the vinyl stickers, they didn't adhere very well to the truck bed liner, so I had to use some super glue to actually keep them on. So be aware of that. Other areas here, I did add some rust to age some of the metal parts. So the washers, also the frame here. Also gave the ribbon cable a bit of a wash, so that's a little bit grimy. As well as taking note of some like older things, I did actually look at the Spengler pack. I didn't want to go too over the top yet with the Spengler modifications, but I have looked at the Spengler pack, and this particular part did notice it's it turned very silver. So maybe this part, until we properly see it, it might look more and more silver than the rest of the parts, maybe because it's, you know, aging due to heat or something like that. Again, some of these ends here, just went over them. In a lot of cases I did go over it with the sandpaper. All the metal made it add some of that rust the Vallejo rust to make it look like it's several years old. I think it's a good texture. You can see in the texture in the corner, and right in the close corner there, it looks quite good. Just added a bit of rust on there. There is, even going back to some of my earlier videos, I've still got the scratch on there from when I was testing there, just the scratches and things, so that's there. Again, looking at the Spengler pack, a lot of the plastic tubing is very very worn and dark, particularly around the edges, so I will give it another pass. The bumper, going over the bumper with a bit of sandpaper just to take the edge off. Silver pen and some of the engine oil. Same here, still again. It is quite scary taking sandpaper to your pack, but it does, in my in my opinion, on my side of things, it does look quite cool. More rust on the hex bolts around there, going down to the pack, so down to the bottom. I did add a little bit of dirt to the shock mount. I did add some dirt to this part, and same at the bottom. I thought this is really, I give it a really good bit of dirt over the top of that, because it's probably, it would be, if the pack was being put down a lot of times, it would contact the ground, contact the other places that it hit the floor first. Do think about it when you're actually adding dirt and grime. Think about where and how that grime occurs. You can imagine all the raised edges from the anything that stands out would actually get caught inside of here, maybe some of there. I need to add a bit more grime to my back plate. I am going to match up. I have touched up my Spengler wand a bit, so I painted that silver, added a bit of grime on the edges here. I think I'm also going to darken down the handle, but I did drill a hole a bit further in, so the screw in that is actually indented inside there. This edge, if it was being placed on the floor, it would get caught a bit, same as the edges on the motherboard around the edge. So a few more rusty bits, bit of dirt, bit of silver pen, but for the moment I think the pack is complete. So I hope you've found my journey interesting and the videos that I've put out. If you want to message me, just message me on YouTube, or we can chat in forums. I'm happy to help. Always remember though, I don't think I did it the best way. There are other methods, and everybody's got ways of building their packs. Everybody's got the right screws to put in the right places. Me, I just did what seemed to fit at the time, because I like to rush into things. But maybe something from any of my videos might be useful in your further endeavours to create your own packs. And BenofKent, absolutely, the pack quality is absolutely amazing. So thankful for Ben for the actual, I'll say, opportunity to have one of his kits, because this was an absolute joy to build. Okay, so as I say, this pack, Proton pack only, attached with the Spengler wand. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found some part of this useful. Take care everybody. Bye bye.